Myths about what sport will do biologically to women date back like 2000 years, and these myths still remain hard to shake. But it only takes one determined woman to change the course of history for everyone after her. This is a story of women who stood up to sexism and the battle of the sexes that captured the world's attention. Hi, I'm Nandita, and this is Breaking Ground. Honestly, tennis is the sport closest to achieving gender equality, whether it's screen time and coverage or prize money. But one blaring aspect still suggests that the sport sees women as subordinate: the sets. We've all heard people say that female tennis players would never be able to play 5 sets like the men. Well, what if I told you that when women started playing tennis, 5 sets were the norm? But somewhere along history, the wrong people were in charge, and this myth about women only being able to play 3 sets became set in stone. We gotta play our part in unraveling these myths together. Let's start at the top. Tennis follows a similar story to cricket. In the Victorian era, tennis was seen as a pastime for upper classes. Women were allowed to play, but people thought they were too fragile to play with vigor. There were also obviously strict dress codes which hindered their movement. The women had to play in corsets, long skirts, and petticoats on the court. How in the world are you supposed to move in that? Wimbledon was established in 1877, but only open to female participants in 1884. Even then, women could only compete in doubles as hitting backhands was seen as unfeminine. These absurd myths and assumptions really exist in every sport. But as usual, there were a few pioneers that paved the way for women in tennis. Bertha Townsend was the first female champion at the Wimbledon in 1894, while Mae Sutton won Olympic gold in singles in 1900. Their victories proved that women could excel in the sport, and this early period saw tennis emerge as a respectable sport for women. During this early era of tennis, the United States National Championships from 1891 to 1901 featured 5-set matches for women. But these women's matches were shortened to the best of 3 sets in 1901 by the United States National Lawn Tennis Association Council. No points for guessing that the body was made up entirely of men. Despite this early success, female players still faced prejudice. In 1921, the Wimbledon Championship Committee banned them from competing and were banned from major tournaments till World War II. In 1947, Wimbledon finally opened to women again. Althea Gibson broke the colour barrier too, becoming the first African-American player at the 1956 French Open. During the 1950s and 60s, we got maybe the most famous tennis star today, Billie Jean King. She really fought tirelessly to change the game and still continues to do so even today. Back then, she fought for equal prize money, recognition, and worth. Which brings me to the Battle of the Sexes match. It was 1973, and Bobby Riggs, a former top men's player, was now a 55-year-old self-described hustler and male chauvinist. He claimed the women's game was so inferior to the men's game that even someone as old as him could beat the current top female players. He challenged and defeated Margaret Court 6-2, 6-1. Billie Jean, who had previously rejected challenges from Riggs, realized she now had to play him and accepted his challenge to disprove his baseless assertions. An estimated 90 million people tuned in worldwide on September 20th, 1973 to watch this match. This became one of the most watched televised sporting events of all time. No tennis match before or since has been seen by so many. Billie Jean beat Bobby Riggs in straight sets. She took home the prize of $100,000, had Emma Stone play her on the big screen, and went down as a legend forever. This match was so much more than just about winning. As Billie Jean said, "I thought it would set us back 50 years if I didn't win that match. It would ruin the women's tour and affect all women's self-esteem. To beat a 55-year-old guy was no thrill for me. The thrill was exposing a lot of new people to tennis." And it's true, no other sporting event in history has played such a significant role in earning female athletes the respect that they deserve. And Billie Jean is often said to be responsible for the boom of women's sports that came after that. The 70s also saw Virginia Wade win Wimbledon in 1977. while stars like Martina Navratilova and Chris Evert took the sport to new heights. By the 1990s, women's tennis was a major spectator event. The early 2000s gave us the Williams sisters and Maria Sharapova, who not only smashed their serves on the court but gave us tennis fashion that would make the girls fall in love with athleisure. Now we have Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka, who are breaking records and continuing to set the standard in a sport that actually gives women an equal shot. Of course, barriers still remain, but I think Billie Jean King and Bertha Townsend have equipped today's women with enough to leave the game better than they found it. Thank you for tuning in to the last episode of Season 1 of Breaking Ground on the Ready Set Girls show. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.